take a walk with me, not like you used to do. Do something different and put yourself in other people's shoes. Open up your mind and open up your eyes and change your direction, change your perspective.
Welcome in to Other People's Shoes. As you know, I am your host, Neil Matthews. Thank you so much for joining us. It is August. Man, it is hot here in Southern Oregon. We've had temperatures in the 115s. That's 115 in case you're scoring at home. That's really hot. You know what's also really hot? Our website. It's pretty hot. It's awesome. It's got some cool stuff over there. So go check it out. opspodcast.com is a great place to connect with me there. And of course, if you'd like to connect daily on the socials, we, of course, do the Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter things. So join me there as well, OPS Podcast Show. That's how you can find us on the social medias. Speaking of social medias and things that get us into the media, I know this is a weird segue perhaps, but has anyone ever, show of hands, anyone ever been woken up in the middle of the night with a dude's name on your mind? I know that's a weird transition to segue into my guest. All the way, it pains me to say this, from the Terrapin State. In case you're wondering what state that is, that's Maryland, if you're scoring at home. And yes, in fact, I do. I love turtles. So help me welcome him in. He is married to the charming and talented Shea Watson. That should give you a hint of who we're talking to today. He is also, of course, the co-host. Some may even say the host, but we'll stick with co-host of the Pantry podcast. He, of course, has served proudly and faithfully in the United States Army. And now he is this weird kind of, we're going to have to dig deep into this one. He's a biomedical engineer. He had his come to Jesus moment while jamming to Montel Jordan. This is how we do it back in 2014. Help me welcome in Shea from the Terrapin State.
Yeah, come on. Or you could just say shea butter. I mean, that's how people usually remember, because, you know, I'm smooth like butter. But no, and you had, in the middle of the night, you woke up and you had my name on you. This is just getting weirder and weirder. I'm just telling you right now.
I'm so embarrassed to say that, but it is a true story because, you know, as a podcast host, it is hard sometimes to find a guest. It is just extremely hard. People don't know the pain and agony that us podcast hosts go through to find amazing talent and amazing guests. It is a real hard thing. So if you think you fit in that category to save my agony and maybe help me get a little more sleep, of course, reach out to us here at the show. But back to you, my man. So how long have you and Michelle been married? We never really settled on that. I need to know that, I think.
Well, we got married in 2017, so we're going on 4 years this year.
4 years.
Yeah.
And you're a dad
that's
too.
That's
pretty exciting.
My shortest marriage so far. Should I be sharing that? I don't know, but that'll come out. It'll come out. I'm telling you, it's about my life. It's about how it works. But yeah, I'm a dad too. We have a beautiful little 2-year-old. Man, she's awesome.
What do you think the coolest part about being a dad is? Help me with that.
I think it teaches us, not to get too deep in this, but it really, number one, it's just cool to have this little girl, you know, that you're raising, that's your responsibility. Now, a lot of people might say, man, it's a lot of weight, but I love it. I love the idea that I get to teach her how to climb. I get to teach her how to hit a ball. I get to teach her how to, I don't know, I get to play with a Barbie with her, you know, flip it to the other side, whatever it is. It's just cool that, and then they rely on you, and it's like, Baba. And then, you know, you get the rejection. And then, of course, you know, you get the attitude and you get the crying. So you get all of these awesome little attitudes and emotions that you have to learn to deal with, but in a whole different light. And then it teaches you how to actually live on the outside. It's amazing. Like, if I could just have this same mentality when it comes out with other people.
That's the toughest part, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I have a 14-year-old going on 17, maybe even 25, depending on the day. So I can relate. Yep, wholeheartedly. Girl dad here. We used to have tea parties. We used to have all kinds of fun. And now I get eye rolls and, you're not wearing that, are you, Dad? You're not doing that again, are you, Dad? Dad, can you take off your headphones? I can hear you singing, and it's not pleasant.
Yeah,
that's what I get. So yeah. Anyway,
I think it starts early though, because, you know, I'm already getting told no. Do you want to do this? No. Baba's coming to give kisses. No. It's like she's like 2 going on like I don't know what, but I'm like, okay, mommy,
awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's awesome. She is awesome.
That's great. Getting into your story, I always like to ask this question because it's just fun to ask. So, what size shoes do you like to wear?
You said like to wear.
Well, yeah, I mean, like to wear. I mean, that's true.
I wear a size 13, unless my daughter tells me, Baba, put on my shoe, and then it's like a size toe. But yeah. So size 13 is what I wear.
Nice. And is there a style or brand that we like more than another?
I've heard this on your podcast on other ones, and I'm like torn. It's like, I'm like, oh, do I like my sneakers or do I like my boots? I actually like my boots. Nice pair of cowboy boots, throw them on. I got married in them, man. Put a little hat on, yeah. You would never know it with the cars I drive and what I do, but and how I look like a city boy when I'm walking around. But it's like, I like my boots.
Well, you have some Texas roots to you, right? Is that, I did hear that somewhere.
Yeah, Texas and Colorado. So I was born and raised in Colorado. Now, of course, my parents are split, but one lives in Colorado, one lives in Texas. So both sides, Texas side and Colorado side. So a lot of influence.
Yeah, I would imagine. And a lot of good country in both places, right? Colorado and even in Texas, there's some good places to go, right?
There are some good places to go. I am not so much on the Texas side. My mom's been like, you should move to Texas. I'm like, I'm good. But Colorado side, love it. Love the mountains, love the rivers, love the fishing, all that stuff.
All right, so I've never been to Maryland. College Park is where the Terrapins are at. I know you guys are more on the lower part towards DC area, from what I hear from sources from our fact-finding team. But I'm just wondering, if I was going to come out and hang out with you, one, would I have to wear a Maryland anything for the day? Would I have to? Would Michelle make me wear anything Maryland Terrapin? And then two, where would we go and do together, hang out together?
Yo, so number one, no Terrapin stuff, please. Now, of course, my wife is not sitting in a room, and she might actually agree with that nowadays. With the area that we're living in, you ain't gotta wear none of that stuff. You might have to rub the turtle a little bit. No, just kidding. That big, huge cement stone statue that we have in our backyard. No, I'm just kidding. You ain't gotta wear no Terrapin. And number two, I mean, who wouldn't want to go to DC? I mean, you got to see DC. We don't see it enough, but you've got to go there. But there's other great places in Maryland. Maryland is such it's got a lot of nature. So I mean, you could go to DC one day, then you could shoot out to some waterfalls the next day, and it's just so we got it's just a blend, man. We got deer. You could just sit in our backyard and look at the deer if you want to. And we live in the city, but we have a girl deer. I should guess whatever that's called. What are they called? Female deers. Anyways,
I think it's a fawn. I think you're right on that. I think it is a fawn. Yeah.
Well, she has fawns, and she has 2 of them every year, and so we actually watch babies grow up in our backyard in the city. So there you go. You can see a lot of things.
I like it. Of course, I have to look around the statue in the backyard to see said wildlife, right? Because
they just took refuge underneath it. It's so big.
They took refuge because it's so big. That's funny. Yeah, I don't have any ill will towards Maryland. Yeah, I mean, they used to be in the ACC, and they beat Duke a lot, which I was really excited about. So anyway, there we go. There's my Maryland.
No, basketball team's on point. Football team. Yeah, let's be real.
That's kind of like us. It's kind of like Carolina. But we're coming up. We got a good team this year. I feel like we're gonna make some noise and just get going on that. So I gotta ask this question because being a girl dad, I would imagine you have seen the movie Cinderella maybe once or twice. Maybe I'm guessing. You
know what? We don't watch Cinderella. I know it's like, what?
Are you kidding me? You don't watch Cinderella?
No, we are so busy doing other things. Plus, okay, so without getting too deep into all of the Hollywood and all of that stuff, because I don't want all that outright on this one, but what goes into a mind. And so we're really watching what goes into her mind. And so we are minimizing the TV. I actually, her favorite program right now is Bible Man. She runs around yelling Bible Man, singing Bible Man. She's Bible girl. She got the little Bible girl shirt on, and she just rolls that way. We just don't have that kind of time. And we don't give her that much TV, and you know what? She's the better for it.
I think you're the first person this season has said that they don't subject their kids to Disney movies. So you get a prize. Yeah, absolutely. So there we go. A little sound effect for us too. I'm imagining you as an adult, maybe somewhere in your time with Michelle, you guys probably did see Cinderella a time or two, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, fair enough.
Maybe.
And then even more importantly, I don't know how big of a sports fan you really are, but Michael Jordan had his signature Jordans. I'm sure you've heard of that guy too, right?
Oh yeah, I could go pull his jersey out of
you
the
should have probably
closet.
just worn it. Just that would
I
have been
should,
fun.
but it's a lot of people would like probably want to burn me for it because it was, you know, when he was playing in DC.
Oh, it's a Wizards jersey.
Yeah, I've got the Wizards
nice.
jersey.
Okay, all right. I see what you did there. That's good.
Yeah.
But even that makes me feel even better about this question because I don't know if you knew this or not, but when Jordan first came into the league, he couldn't wear his signature Jordans. He was actually banned from wearing them because the colors, believe it or not, did not match the Chicago Bulls jersey colors. They were off. The Reds didn't match. The NBA cared that much about what color your shoes were.
Wow.
And so he couldn't wear them. He could only wear them in exhibition games. And so Nike, being the marketing geniuses that they are, decided to make a little commercial. So they make this commercial, and it starts at the top with Jordan, and he's got this like goofy looking grin on because, you know, he's Michael, and he's bouncing a ball. And it slowly pans down to his shoes, and there's a black box around the shoe. The voice comes on and says, "The NBA may ban him from wearing these, but we never will." And then it goes, "Just do it."
Nice.
Genius moment right there for Nike.
That is a marketing moment.
Yeah, a marketing moment like no other, right? And so my question is, for you, my friend, has there ever been a moment in your life where you felt like just banned, or you just felt stuck like Cinderella, or you just felt like you just couldn't get out of that proverbial quicksand maybe?
Pretty much my whole life. I don't know how much story is on here, but I was molested as a child. So identity issues came in real early. Shame issues came in real early. So I pretty much lived my life for other people telling me what to say. So that dark moment, you know, that shadowed me was all the way until I found an answer to these problems, how to get out of these problems, how to kind of be okay with myself. In other words, like, and so, because most of my life, I wasn't okay with myself. So I'm running two lives. I'm like, wow, I got the army over here telling me, man, you're awesome. And you're rolling. You know, I'm in war. I'm leading. I'm moving up in rank, moving up in all the schools. I'm doing just awesome. On the other side, I have like just this mental anguish, this shame, this constant emptiness. And so it was almost like you had this life that sat out here in the open, but you had this darkness that sat over here. And the darkness was never lit up by the light. It was just something that kept me going, that just kept me hitting the next step. And so as my life progressed, so did the issues, so did the way I live. Good leader. I didn't sit there and not lead well. I led really well. I had really good teams. I had really good guys. In fact, I was always given the guys who were the most broken, go figure. I kind of had a connection there. Not saying it was horrible, but I'm just saying that life, that blackness, that darkness was just sitting right there on me the whole time until light was shined on that.
You know, I don't often share this, but my most downloaded episode of all time is called Emptiness. And it's with one of my former coworkers, and he talks about being molested in the church. And to me, it blows my mind. By the way, almost 8,000 people have downloaded that. Wow. It's insane to think about. It's insane. And to me, when I think about that episode and I think about sitting with him, I sat with him in my living room, not in our current studio that we have now, but I sat with him in my living room, and every now and then I go back into the living room and I sit down in the certain seat that I sat in when I did the episode with him. And I almost imagine the pain of him sharing that with me, how painful that was for him. So I'm going to tread delicately here. I know we don't know each other super well, but I do want to know more about that, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's
we don't have to get into obviously the graphic detail of it or anything like that. But I'm just wondering about that because to me, it's not every day that I come across a male person that openly admits like, hey man, I was sexually molested. Like that's just not, like we're playing hoops and you're like, oh, by the way, BT Dubs, this happened. Did it have a tremendous impact on your life and how did that shape you going forward?
So my parents split early, and this happened shortly after this was when it happened. And it happened so I'm the old school, right? Arcades. He said I was in the Army 11 years. Thank you. Praise God. He thinks I look young. Man, I've been with the Army for like 30 plus years. But the arcades were the thing back then. And so there was some situations in the family because there's brokenness from the divorce where I was left exposed. And the arcade became a refuge. And so money was being poured into my pocket just to get me out the house. Well, that's where the predator took advantage of me. Now, in a, 11-year-old boy's mind, maybe younger, 10, I don't know, somewhere in there. It happened over a summertime in between 4th and 5th grade. So whatever the age is on that. And I kept going back though, because I think that, I know that there was a rejection and this was someone accepting and someone who was giving me attention and what they would call, a perverted love. But, at that time. And so I kept going back. And so the stain that left, because when you're 11, you don't understand how you can be manipulated. You don't understand how someone can just take you and mold you and form you and create what they want you to be. You put it into your own lap. Actually, I just took all the responsibility onto myself. And so what's interesting about all that, though, I took it all on myself. I never really had any issues in the forgiving parts or the like, it's your fault parts of blaming my parents. I took on this responsibility and held this responsibility. And in holding that responsibility is where my identity crisis started. Because, man, what that does to a person, am I, and I'm gonna say it, was I gay? How many times did that roll through your head? How many times does it roll through your head? Am I really attracted to women or am I not attracted to women? And it just goes down this dark porthole into just this emptiness. And so what are you trying to do? You're trying to swim here on the good side. You're like, okay, I'm going to keep doing my work. I'm going to keep doing this thing. I'm going to keep doing this thing. Over on this side, you're doing drugs, you're doing alcohol, you're doing all kinds of things to kind of cover it, what I call the fixes. And this was all the way from the beginning, from then. Middle school, watch this. This is how, I believe in the enemy. I believe there is an enemy. I believe that Satan, it just wants to crumple people. And so when I sat there, man, I went into 5th grade and my best friend, where this nickname came from, I will never understand. He started calling me Shea Gay. Didn't know anything. He didn't know anything, but here he is calling me Shea Gay. Now the impact of that, well, what did that do? Well, middle school, pretty much, I was just like, I didn't even really go to school. I mean, I went to school. I didn't participate. I didn't do anything. Man, these people were beating me up. I had this on my mind, had all this. I shouldn't have passed. I know this, but they pushed me on. And then I went to live with my dad. And by that time, my dad was a Christian. And so I ended up in a Christian school. But, hey, I straightened out. All I'm saying is I straightened out then. I knew who Jesus was. I knew who God was. I knew the Holy Spirit. I believed in it. I was like, okay. But what did that do? It put me into sports. It put me into balance. It put me into a disciplined house to where I could excel. And so I did. I excelled in school. I excelled, all of these things, but always on the side. Basketball, football, baseball. I mean, I lettered in everything starting from freshman year. I was on the varsity team by sophomore year. I mean, I was full blown playing on the softball for basketball and football. And I just kept going because why? People were just sitting there saying, you're good, you're good, you're good, you're good, you're good. And that was my go. But over here, I would go home and just be like, I just couldn't breathe. I couldn't function. I never felt adequate. I never felt good enough. Warrant that with a church, Assemblies of God, Pentecostal, full blown. And I still can't sit there and say 100%, they believed in you sin, you go to hell. But that was the condemnation that I was feeling because I felt broken and I felt inadequate. That's not God. That's not God. I'm going to clear that right here. That is not God. But that is what I felt.
Well, first off, thank you. Thank you for letting us walk down that road with you. I just am always blown away that adults come into a young person's life and get to violate them, get to break trust, get to, the gaslighting, all this other stuff that comes with it. You're trying to beat Pac-Man or Contra or figure out the latest, whatever, Dig Dug. I'm trying to think of like old school video games. And hear this
asteroids.
Yeah, and here this dude is just violating, not only your innocence, but in more ways than one. Allow us to hear those conversations you were having, in your head, now verbalizing to come out. I mean, I've always wanted to ask people that question. Like, again, males who were, molested, I've always wanted to ask them, did they ever struggle with that homosexuality, idea that was put in their head? Because maybe they felt that they were, and you clearly, now again, I know we're making a broad sweeping statement. You felt that way. That doesn't mean everyone else in the planet maybe have felt that way, but you felt that way. I think that's very important to remember. With that being said, I value that. I value that you gave us that. So thank you. Thank you for that. So I'm hearing all this accolade. I'm hearing all this praise. I'm hearing all these people just sharing with you, like, you're the best. You're amazing. I think of like the Karate Kid, the fight scene, he's in the tournament. You're the best around. Nothing's gonna stop you now. Yeah, that was my singing. Sorry, everyone had to hear that and endure that, but it's true. It's a great song from The Karate Kid, the original. But in that, you had so many people pouring into you saying you're going to be the best around. Do you think you ever, in any point in time, made yourself an idol that you worshipped? And if so, what was that like?
I worship a lot of idols. So when I say a fix, let's define fix. I was idolizing fixes. That could be being the best on the shooting range. That could be getting drunk and just forgetting. That could be a wife. That could be a second wife. You know, it only awakened me into the third wife, which I always call the third one is my best one because, you know, it's centered in Christ. It was the fixes. And you know what? Women became this idolization. I think that would be probably one of the bigger idols. So when that would fall, everything would fall. If the relationship was good, I was good. There's a lot of things within that whole thing too, that just, you know, you're sitting here talking about like sharing into this moment and what people go through and what I went through. Not saying a lot of people do that, you know, everyone has their own. I agree with that. But you know, you sexual satisfaction even misses a point. So really all you're relying on is this person. Like even when getting into bed wasn't the fix. It was just relying on this person for your life to be good. So wife number one, absolutely. That's what that was. Wife number two, the same thing. And you know what's funny is broken people find each other. So it was kind of like that for both sides of that. So that would be what I have idolized in my life would be, you know, idolizing the relationship.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and I even hate that phrase, like devil's advocate.
Oh, come on, bring it. I love it.
I like the other side of the coin, maybe. Devil's advocate again. I cringe at that because I don't like the Blue Devils. Like, I just don't. And just saying, like, nothing about the devil is good. Just saying, blue, red, or otherwise. I'm gonna play the other side of the coin here. You had this kind of proverbial bucket, and you kind of just kept filling the bucket up. Okay, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try the army. I'm gonna try sports. I'm gonna try women. I'm gonna try drinking. I'm gonna try drugs. I'm gonna try tattooing. I mean, they can't see it because it's audio, but you got some tats, and they're pretty awesome, and they're down your sleeves, and it's pretty amazing artwork there. I don't have any, so I admire those that do it because I'm like, wow, that's permanent. I'm not a big permanent guy. I don't even like permanent markers, but anyway, just funny story on that. But what stops Jesus from becoming, quote unquote, the fix?
I'm okay with that.
Why?
I guess there's got to be stories behind this. So I think that we all come through testimonies. Does that make sense? It's like, how did it impact your life?
Right, but just make sure it's you, not someone else, if you don't mind on that.
Right. So like me, and you know, this is me. I speak for me. And you know, a testimony is 100% me. How other people experience things, that is totally in their realm. But for me, I had PTSD, I had nightmares, I had delusions, I had flashbacks going on decades. They affected my life. I had addictions, affected my life. I had pornography addictions, affected my life. I had self issues, loving myself issues, decades of my life. In 2014, when I finally hit rock bottom, when my second wife left me, and that was the wife I thought I would sit on the porch with. That's the wife I thought I would grow old together with. That's, you know, and I had quit drugs, the hard drugs in the beginning of that marriage. And because of 8 miscarriages in the 4th and 5th months, you know, it has a toll on the relationship. She came in later and she's like, I just want to party. I just want to do drugs. I just want to chill out. And I was like, I just throw up the walls. Ended up on a New Year's Eve night covering. I took Ambien, took beer, just wanted to go to sleep. I drove to my friend's house in Virginia, which is about a 40-minute drive. I don't even remember it. I wake up in a chair sitting across from him. He's a veteran, missing his legs, good friend of mine. And I wake up and I'm like, what am I doing here? And he goes, you drove here. And he has a gun sitting on a table next to him on the chair. And I'm like, well, what's the gun for? And he goes, well, reach inside your hoodie. Well, I had my 9mm. And he's like, that's why I've been sitting here. But he sat there all night watching over me. Number one, I think that's a moment right there. That's just for me, a very spiritual awakening moment. Like, wait, I just had someone sit up all night, watch over me to make sure I'm okay. Well, I knew Jesus. Look, I've heard Jesus my whole life. My family by this time is, you know, my mom's a Christian. Don't beat me down with it. You know, they're praying for me. I don't even hear those prayers. Look, I don't hear them. You know, they're not like calling me up and like praying over me over the phone, you know, or you know, and every once in a while, or when I'd go visit, my mom would say, okay, you know, do you want to come to church? And if I would have said no, it was fine, but I would go, you know, and I would sit there. And when the music would play, I could feel something was calling. And so I sat there that morning after showing up at my friend's house, covering my problems again. And I was like, let me go to church. Well, I found a church. They teach grace. They teach finished work. They teach the love of Christ. They teach the grace, the mercy, the forgiveness of Christ, how he sees us, not how we see ourselves, but how he sees us. And believe it or not, I was like, I fought it at first. I'm like, nah, come on, man. No one sees me that way. Well, I went to Kenya, failed again. again, guys. I failed again. When you do this transition, this is like a month later. So January, I'm in church. February, I'm back in Kenya, somewhere I've gone for 20 plus years, partied it up, went with the crowd, had a good time, was in the club, doing all the things. And you meet up with the same crowd and there's methamphetamines. Never in Kenya, ever. And here I am again, covering up. So first time in January, I was like, fine, God. It was that defiant whatever, God. Just do something. That time, coming on the plane home, I was like, I'm done, God. I can't do nothing no more. I can't do this. I slept, and here goes my weird moment. You had your weird moment with shea butter. I'm just letting you know, but I had my weird moment, and I I had a dream that night, and it was about Jesus going on the cross and being crucified. And I experienced some pain that I'd never experienced in my entire life as this happened. And I was like, wait. He died for me with that much pain. He took on everything. And I knelt beside my bed and I surrendered. Right there, I said, Jesus, you do something in my life. I am here. I will serve you. And you know what? Nightmares, delusions, flashbacks, addiction, like that need to watch porn, drugs and alcohol, completely gone. I have not had one PTSD issue since 2014. You ask me, is Jesus my fix? Is he my crutch? Absolutely. Because every day I wake up, I don't have the world telling me who I am. I have who I believe created me telling me I am a good person. So yeah, my fix.
That's powerful, man. It's just, I can tell the emotions are right there. And that's what I respect and just love about people and getting to know new people is, I'm not obviously trying to push buttons to invoke that or to cause that. I think that's just you and your passion coming out. One of my favorite movies, and it was on just last night, it's called Act of Valor. I don't know if you've seen it because it's a Navy SEAL movie. I don't know how you feel about Navy SEALs.
Oh no, Act of Valor. I watch those things sometimes.
Fair enough. And not to try to sound too flippant, but I don't know if things like that would cause any kind of flashbacks or any kind of, trauma or anything like that. So I'm being funny, but not trying to be like disrespectful on that. But
You're good, brother.
But in there's a scene at the end of the movie. I'm gonna just wreck it for those who haven't seen it. But at the end of the movie, one of the main characters dies, and his buddy's writing this letter to his son, his unborn son, and he's writing this letter. And here's kind of the quote. It says, "Put your pain in a box, lock it down. We are men made up of boxes, chambers of loss, of triumph, of hurt, of love, of hope. Use this as ammunition, as ink to write the most impactful letter of your life." In other words, putting all that stuff in a box, putting all that pain in a box. Is there any truth to that in your life that you've had to kind of just put things in a box?
I think as men, we always categorize. We always, there's dangers in this and there's positives in this. Positive, you get through the moment. Danger is you put it there, you forget about it, you don't take care of it. I believe in... So I have three words that I always use, and it's like pray, pause, proceed. So pray, pause, proceed. So I'm calling in, taking it in, putting it into this box. Now I'm waiting for this. Now I'm pausing so that I can sit there and know how I'm going to move forward in this. I'm not forgetting it. I'm actually working through it. I'm working on it, but then I'm also proceeding at the same time. So I think that what we do as men, and as I did myself, isolate, forget, but it's still back there. I'm still looking behind at it. I'm still in the shame about it. But nowadays, with a healthy mentality towards this, right? I'm not just putting it away and saying, I'm good. No, I think sometimes the admission in that, like he's saying, put it on paper. I like that part. It was like, okay, we're going to go through all this. We're going to go through all this trauma. We're going to go through all of these situations. Man, bullets might be flying. Grenades might be, popping off next to you. Artillery rounds are coming in. I mean, this was my life. So put it on paper. What are you doing when you're putting it on paper? You're thinking about it. Process. How many times in life, I don't know if anyone's ever been in therapy before. I'm raising my hands, but they're like, right. Write it down. Journal. I mean, I know I'm a guy, but journaling, I've never done it, y'all, but I journal up here and I journal in my Google Docs. Anyways, my Google Docs is my everything. It's like, but I'm writing these things down, not to forget them or so that sometimes I might have to revisit them. Sometimes I might have to come back and say, okay, this is affecting my life in this certain way. And that's what he's saying. He's saying, write these things down like it's the most important thing in your life, because we have to deal with the things that we go through. What that looks like is different for everyone. It's something that is, it's the key that has to be done inside of you. But we can't just, man, I bypassed my life for decades. I let it just sit back there. I didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to see it. But man, every once in a while that flash would pop up in my head. A visual here, a visual there. And until I really got down into it and dug into it, right? And really laid it out there. Now, see, of course, mine's God. That's me. But when I laid it out there, it was healing. And I think that when I sit here today, I can talk about these things without stuttering or hiccuping, breaking down. In the past, I would have broke down. 27 years old, telling my parents I was molested because they never knew, because I was in a hospital taking care of PTSD. And my therapist was like, have you ever told your parents? I'm like, no. Broke down. But today I can talk about it because it's behind me. It's not something that is impacting my life here and in this moment, right? I'm worried about today, not tomorrow. I think, and that's what we're doing. We're writing these letters. Write that letter. Get it out. Then you can look back at it. Don't go past it. But if you really feel it back in you, go back and look at how did you feel in that moment? And let's work on that. Let's work on it.
What is the danger if you didn't work on it? If you didn't, in your words, your phrase, right? Pray, pause, proceed. You remember it as a kid, right? Your dad would probably come in, hey, clean your room, and you'd shove everything in the closet, shove everything under the bed, make the bed all nice and neat, and everything else was nice. But really, everything was shoved in the closet or under the bed, right? But imagine, again, your room is your life now. And you've shoved everything just in closets and under beds, but you've never really dealt with it. You've never really cleaned it, put it away. It's just shoved away. What happens if it's just shoved away and not dealt with in your mind?
Well, we've all heard the term baggage. Now, let's use your analogy because I like that. You're a kid. Dad tells you to put it away. You shove it all up in the closets. One day you're going to have to move out. One day you're going to have to get into that closet. One day your closet's not going to have enough room. And usually, well, for me, I like keeping it to me. When my closet no longer had room is when I actually hit rock bottom. And I had to deal with it. And like I said, I tell people this all the time. I hit rock bottom, but hit the rock of salvation. And I didn't go any deeper. And if anything, I've just keep going up. And it is a mentality. I know that the Bible gets bad raps on things, but man, let me tell you something. When Jesus spoke, and he spoke to some of the most broken people, and he loved them, and he cared about them, and he gave them an opportunity for grace and mercy and to heal. And that's what he did for me. I had to deal with it though. I mean, man, you shove it in there. What happens? You have breaking points all through your life. You know, what was it? All the way through the army, man, I was good. I'm good. You know, I got the broken home with my wife, but I got the army, so I'm good, you know? And then the army says, you're not good for us. So I've been packing all this stuff in my closet and they're telling me you're not good enough for us. You got to go. We're going to retire you medically. You're broken. You're worthless. My mind, remember, they're not telling me this physically. So I'm out. And what did I turn to? Because I just felt so alone, so empty, so broken. Meth, crack, coke, whatever. The only thing I didn't touch was heroin because I didn't care if I lived or died. And that was my moment. Luckily, I had a sister, another Christ moment in there. I always add these up because when my dad was telling, my dad's kind of, I love him to death, but he's a little tougher. When he was telling her, kick him out the house. No, Dad. And she gave me so much grace, so much mercy. And so this is what happens. This is what's happening through my whole life. It might be in the middle of the 13-year marriage and it's not going right. You know, 8 miscarriages, 4th, 5th month, and you break again. And what do? You turn somewhere else. You turn to the world. You turn to the drugs. You turn to the alcohol. Well, not drugs at that point, but alcohol, something to cover it. You're not taking care of it. Write it down. Write it down. How do you feel right now? Don't sugarcoat it. Don't know. The rawest raw of raw. How do you feel right now? And look, if it's so bad, get help. You know, if it's like, get help. But I mean, write it down, get it out there, man. How do you get rid of darkness? By shining light on it. It's got to get out there. And if you bury it in the closet, man, all you're doing is keeping it in darkness.
I love that a lot. I really do. I think that's great stuff. Change of gears here for a moment for you.
Absolutely.
There's this little stadium, I think, nearby you guys. I don't know, West Point. Have you ever heard of this place? I don't know.
I've heard of West Point, but actually the Naval Academy's closer. Boo. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Navy guys, I love y'all. All right.
But I'm just imagining like West Point, like somehow we create this amazing event for you, right? We get you on the 50-yard line of West Point. You got the cadets there, right? They're getting ready to go out and I would say be all that they can be, you know, the few, the proud. Wait, wrong branch. Oh, man, that's the Marines. What are we doing? We're at the wrong event. What is the Army's slogan anyway? I don't even know it. Like the Marines have something amazing.
They've changed it so many times.
Do you feel inspired to go be a Marine? I'm just saying, asking for a friend.
I like watching the Marine commercials nowadays, so whatever. No. Right. Our Army is like, we're here. And I'm like, oh, I love y'all, but be all you can be was mine.
Was be all you can be. Okay. So my dad is a Marine for those that don't know. And I was born in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. That explains the Carolina connection. Just for those that maybe haven't caught up on some past episodes, that explains my Carolina fandom, as I was actually born in North Carolina. So I am a Tar Heel born, Tar Heel bred by all definition. The Marines have this amazing phrase, right? The few, the proud, the Marines. But the Army, it's like, yay, we're Army of one.
Oh,
Just
notice the Marines have
it's
never
not as
changed.
cool.
The Marines have never changed.
By the way, the Marines have never, I didn't want to be mean, but the Marines have never
Right.
changed, right? It's been the same for like 300 some odd years or whatever it's been. But anyway, back to West Point. But West Point, we have the cadets there, right? All of them are going on to aspire to be officers and greater things in the Army. None of them have, as far as I know, have experienced any PTSD. Now, they might be carrying some baggage from childhood, much like you have, because I think we all carry some sort of baggage from our childhood, no matter what it is. But by the way, the seating capacity, in case you're wondering, 38,000 people in their football stadium. It's pretty exciting. I mean, that's pretty good. But if we can get you at the 50-yard line, what would you say to these cadets on their graduation day?
That's on the spot. No, he's like, we're about to take it easy. Let's switch gears and make it harder. No, oh, man. What would I tell them? Most of the West Point cadets are there for a reason. Whatever it is, school, some to serve for their country because their fathers and their grandfathers. But one of the things that I would honestly tell them that, no matter what your mission, no matter what you've been put in front of, what you've experienced, what you're going to go through, you have to be real with yourself. We have to really come to a position where we can understand our current status. They teach us this all the time. Do this. Mental health. Granted, y'all, I don't know how it is in the last, since 1999. There's my age. I've never felt like, I don't know which side it's coming from. I know when I was there in the mental health ward and stuff, they didn't understand me. Now they've tried to revamp that a little bit and put combat arms people in place. But a lot of it, like a lot of the friends that I have that lost legs that were later Army that I met later in life, they're not looking for the help that they need. And it's because they're putting things in their closet. So maybe if I stood out there on that 50-yard line, I'd be like, look, you can't just stuff things into your closet. You can't just stuff into your A bag. Those are the big bags they carry around, or your rucksack. You got to deal with them. You got to take care of them. That speech that you just read, it's from a movie, but hey, put it down on paper. A lot of the wars that we've seen from World War II and some other things, what did we always see? They were writing their loved ones. Man, they would send home so many letters to their loved ones. Today, man, I'm holding it up, y'all. It's we have this device, this technology, which actually makes it worse, I think, for our military today, because they have instant communication. So if something bad at home goes bad, it goes bad. But they used to write letters, write how they're doing, write what's going on, and really face what they're going through. I think military men have always been hard on themselves and just kind of bury it and put it in a closet. So I'd want them to bring light into that darkness and really, be real about themselves. Because I think the more real you are, the more that you can sit there and just work at it or put it out there, the more you're going to be able to work towards it, and better and healthier you're going to be mentally.
Do you think any of them would really listen to you?
Boy, I didn't. No, but I didn't ever have anybody telling me these things. I can only go from my own experience. And when you're on the battlefield, it's like, man up, and get through it. Right. And you do that. And then as you turn into a leader, you turn around and do it. And because why? It's rough. It's hard. You don't have time for that. You're like, just get it together, because my life depends on it. The other guys' lives depend on it. You gotta wake this up. And the mental health aspect, I think, has always been something that the Army and all the armed forces could work on just a little bit better. I don't know how that would look, but I think that you have to sit there in this reality, a bullet statement right now. Hey, look, don't cover it up and keep it covered. I don't sit in a foxhole my whole life. I don't sit in the foxhole and I just sit there and cover down and stay in the foxhole. No, I got to get up and move. Or if I'm behind a tree, I don't just cover behind a tree. I got to move. We got to move. But don't just stuff it somewhere. Don't stuff it. And would they listen? Let me tell my story. Maybe through the testimony of my story and how it broke me down, maybe they would. But I wouldn't. I'd have to be on that field. I'm one of those guys. I'd have to be on that field in front of all of them, and then some epic statement would come out. But I know where it would be. It would be in that realm of don't bury stuff. Work on it, work at it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be immediate, but just work on it.
So out of all the trauma and all the heartache and all the, stuffing things and putting it in the rucksack and, throwing it on your back and thinking, well, it's behind me. Theoretically, it's behind me. I'm not dealing with it anymore because it's behind me. Is there anybody from your past that you feel like was the hardest for you to forgive?
No, the hardest to forgive. I've always had a forgiving spirit. And I think, okay, fine. Actually, no, I'm about to talk myself into the person that I have a hardest time forgiving. It's me. I have the hardest time time forgiving myself. I will take on everyone else's beat down as my own. And so learning how to forgive myself has always been my hardest.
I think with all the challenges and all the, heartache that you've walked through, I almost look at it like a minefield. Like, I just feel like every step you took, you were about ready to just lose, your proverbial mind or life, or, implode those around you with the choices that you were making. And so I just was curious if you ever really struggled with being able to let that go and really truly forgive, those that have hurt you in the past. And so that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, no, my mom asked it the other day. She goes, I don't know how you forgave me. And I'm like, because I'd never had an issue with you. It's like it shifted to me. And even in the healing process, come on, man, decades later, it's like, and it's not like my mom is still a crackhead. You know what I'm saying? It's like she's in church, she plays the piano, she sings in the worship choir. It's like, so there's not like this like immediacy but I've always been one to just take on all the responsibility. And so in that, I never had an issue with them as much. I never had that issue. Now, was I angry child? Was I hard to deal with? Absolutely, because I was broke. In fact, if anything, because of that, I apologize to my stepmom all the time. I'm always apologizing to my dad. I'm like, man, I was a horrible kid. I'm sorry, y'all. Yeah, for me, it's me. Even the guy that did what he did, the only thing that I wish, would have happened, and that I feel probably like, that I struggle with sometimes is the fact that I never exposed it. So therefore, who took my place? I prayerfully, I hope that he did get caught. Prayerfully, I hope that, he found whatever redemption. Christ can do amazing things. But that's one of the points in my life that sometimes I'm like, I wonder who else had to go through this. And again, falls on me. But I have to sit here and say, okay, well, look, I couldn't do anything about then. Gotta let go. Gotta move forward. That's not gonna sit in my closet.
Yeah, no, I think that's powerful. Again, I'm always blown away when people share that with me, and they have shared that in the past, that they've been able to forgive that person that has done them trauma. Whether it be child abuse or molestation or rape or whatever it may be, that they have been able to get to a point of being able to be forgiven. And it's such a powerful testimony. And I'm blown away that people can do that. I would hope that if that ever happened to me, I would be able to forgive that person. But I just don't know. I think I'd probably shove it in the backpack and just be like, it's good. It's fine. It's behind me. But I would give you an opportunity. I know you and your wife, Michelle, as we said at the onset, the very charming and talented wife that you have. You have an amazing show. What's going on with that? How can people find it? How can people go learn more about that, and maybe even learn more about you? And then I want to play a game with you. So be prepared.
Oh yeah. Awesome. No, you can find us at thepantrypodcast.com. We are on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We are on those platforms. Pantry Podcast. Why that name? Worst SEO anyone could ever come up with. If y'all don't system whatever. It's like how people search you. But what's in your spiritual pantry? Search engine optimization, I think, is what you're searching for. There we go. Search engine optimization. That's why she's like you said, the amazing Michelle, because she is all the software, all the website design, all the graphic designs, man. She is awesome. But the Pantry Podcast, what's in your pantry? Are we storing up junk food? Or are we storing up good food? What's in your heart? What's in your spiritual storehouse? And, we want good things in our spiritual storehouse. Christians get a bad rap. Christians get a bad everything because, sometimes we just look very overpowering. And in a lot of cases they are. But really, what's in your pantry? How can you love your neighbor? How can you love your enemy? How can you exist in a world that, doesn't align with what you believe? And so, yeah, that's what we bring it out. We bring it out truthfully. We bring it out real, and we will challenge the Christian. A lot of people like, hey, go out, talk to the world. And we're like, okay, no, our brothers and sisters in Christ, we're going to sound a little hard, but man, look, we want you to be better and love people better. So that's what we do. That's good stuff. I like that a lot. Game senseless. There it is. It's the famous North Carolina Cup. So no terrapins here. No terrapins were harmed in the taping of this episode either. So I'm going to roll. I'm hoping you get a really good number. So I'm really going to roll this really well. Ooh, number 5. Ironic. It's dealing with a taste. So here we go. There's number 5. There's proof. Yeah, even the 5 is light blue. That powder puff blue is killing me. But anyways, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. The Jordans behind me. I love it. No, I love it. I love it. The slippers, Jordans. Nice. Yeah, the headphones, the cord, everything's light blue around here. All right. So favorite thing to taste. Flan. Did you say flan? I like flan. Help me with that. I've heard of flan, but I don't know if I really know what it is. Help me with flan. That's a Spanish cheesecake. No, just kidding. I'm about to get beat up. My Latino brothers and sisters, I'm just joking. Flan is it's milky, it's creamy, it's got sugar, it's braised on top, with the little sugar braising, and it's like custard. So what we would call custard. I said cheesecake because I was trying to be funny, but it's what we would call custard, but tastes so much better.
And do you make it? Because I've heard you're kind of the, the Wolfgang Puck or the Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen. I've heard that.
Yes, I can make flan. I can make tres leches. You telling me what you want to eat, I got you, brother. In fact, you come to DC, you just stay in the room we got. Man, look, I got dinner.
Do you got lunch and breakfast too, or just dinner? Just wondering.
Oh, brother,
for a
if you stay in the house, man, you're taken care of.
But what would you want somebody to, if they're hearing you, they're really, want to know more of your story, want to know more of that. I know we talked about how people can connect with you, but why do you think your story is so compelling, and why should people really pay attention to hearing it?
Well, humbly, I would never think that way. In that sense of I don't hold myself in that light thinking that my story is better than anyone else's story. And that's just because that's how I am. That might need some work, but I do cover a wide range of experiences that I've been through. We didn't get to the point of being an abused husband, broken nose, stabbed in the back. But I cover a wide array. You can find those on thepantrypodcast.com. We have a drop down for other people's shows, and you can hear my full testimony. And I think what I bring to it is, I bring Jesus to mine. I don't think I could be where I'm at now, sitting how I'm sitting now without that. But that doesn't mean other people can't find comfort, but I'm just saying that is what I solidify as my answer. In fact, I think it's an answer. I think it's the answer. People might not want to hear that, but it's my answer. And so why my story, though? I'm telling you, Rodney Olson walked through the whole story. And I really should be sitting here bitter, enraged, in hate, angry, deflections, and all kinds of other emotions, but I'm not. In fact, I'm in a marriage that's better than any marriage I've ever had. We respect one another. We're honest with one another. We lay everything out on the table with one another. There's nothing hidden in closets with each other. And that's because we've connected equally through Christ. And so it's a victory story. And I want people to have victory. I want people to sit there and say at the end of the day, man, you know what? I've been through hell, but I'm good because I'm good. I'm good. I am so good. I can say that 100 times. I'm good. And I am. I'm not making it up. It's just a beautiful position to be in, to know that you can walk with your head high, and say, I am somebody. I'm good. I have victory.
Wow, that's powerful, man. I compliment you for being willing to come on and share tough subjects and to share it with the conviction and the passion. To me, I think is something that I see a lot of people don't have in secular or even in the church. People are afraid to share their story. They're afraid to share the trauma that has come, and self-induced or maybe even because of circumstances beyond their control. People are just afraid to really share their story. And I think there's a little bit of judgment that comes with that. I think there's a little bit of apprehension in people that I've come across, at least. So, man, I applaud you for what you shared. I'm just excited that we had an opportunity to connect, and I'm just really thrilled. So, man, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me, brother. It's been an awesome conversation.
Guys and gals alike, as we wrap up today, I just want to ask this question as we close out. What is in your closet? Now, I know, nowadays when we talk about people coming out of the closet, it's this big thing, this courageous thing, and we applaud them and we celebrate them. But are we celebrating and are we applauding for the wrong reason? That's what I want to ask you. Because for me, I just encountered a gentleman that was not afraid to share the laundry, afraid to share the demons, was not afraid to share the scars, was not afraid to share the wounds. And let me just tell you, there is power in what he said. But it's not his power. That's the best part of all. I feel like he has been super powered. He's been superstarred. You guys might remember this back in the day, Mario Brothers, right? The original Super Mario. When you got that star, you were unstoppable. And I think today, our guest, Shea, man, he grabbed that star. But it wasn't the star like you would think of. It's the king who put the stars in place. He grabbed that star and he has run with it. And he has run with it to the point of saying, you know what? I'm unstoppable now. I'm not going to let anything stand in my way from accomplishing the mission, and that's saving the world one person at a time. And I think he's doing that very well. So, guys, if you're interested, please, of course, go check out what they're doing. Pantry Podcast. We, of course, will link all of that in our show notes. And just remember this as we wrap up today. Remember, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. Stay tuned till next week, again, as we walk in other people's shoes.